And we are live. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. And we are here for the 35th episode of the Illegal Formation Podcast, finally in the playoffs. I am your host, Scott. Joining me today, Dan. That one dude, Dan. The Eagles fan. His birds are in the playoffs. You see it in the thumbnail. You see it in the graphic. He's hyped.
Baby.
He can't wait. For me, just a regular old Giants fan, this is also a fun time for me because, all of the suffering is over for some of the teams like us. And we just get to think about next year and enjoy the playoffs. And we've got one hell of a playoffs this year. This has been the season of parity. Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, and Patrick Mahomes all out of the AFC playoffs. And then in the NFC, you got teams like the Panthers making it in. And for the Wildcard Round in that season, you just know it's going to be crazy. And this is the lineup. We got Rams-Panthers at 4:30 on Saturday. Packers-Bears, 8 o'clock. Bills-Jags at 1 o'clock on Sunday. San Fran at the Eagles at 4:30. That's when it's going to go down, Dan.
That's going to be a good one.
Yeah. And then Chargers-Patriots Sunday night. That should be a great game. And then Monday night, we get the Texans at the Steelers for a defensive showdown. So we are going to go through all of these games, and we are going to show our full prediction bracket at the very end, just very quickly, because I cannot escape a wild card round without getting a Super Bowl prediction out there. So yes, we are going to start by breaking down each of these games. And first up is going to be the Los Angeles Rams at the Carolina Panthers. The 8-9 Carolina Panthers won the NFC South in a three-way tie and will host a playoff game against the almost one seed Los Angeles Rams. And it's just funny, this is a conversation every year. People talk about it. And, you have these bad, worst division winners hosting a playoff game, and, people want it to change. I think it's fine. You won your division. The Rams are still in the playoffs. And in this game, they're favored. It's the biggest difference in any game in the wild card round, and that's minus 10.5 to the Rams. So 2 possessions. And I think that's kind of funny because, as we all know, the Panthers beat this Rams team earlier on in the season.
Yes, they did.
Right. So what is going into this? Well, there are some things to keep in mind that, there are some injuries that were affecting the Rams. Now, they did have Devontae Adams in that game. He caught 2 touchdowns. But they also were missing their safety, Quinton Lake, in that game. And Bryce Young was 3 for 3 on 4th down with deep ball passes to T-Mac and Jalen Coker. And they actually only got to the red zone one time. So it was a very, very odd way, the way the Panthers were able to expose this Rams defense, but it's not like they're the only ones who've done it. A.J. Brown with the Eagles, like we said, we've learned at this point, these physical wide receivers, can really get after this Rams secondary, injuries or not. Now, the Panthers, how they get to this 8-9 spot, the up and down, win, lose. In fact, upset the Rams, lose to the Saints. That kind of, drasticness was, plaguing their season, but they are still here, and they're going to take on the Rams. So, Dan, I'm just kind of curious, what do you think it is that Vegas sees? I'm not asking you who you're picking, but what do you think they're looking at and thinking why the Rams should be favored by 10?
I mean, because if you think about it, right, the Panthers went in and absolutely, backhanded the shit out of the Rams. For absolutely no reason. They had no reason to win that game, right? The Rams had every reason to lose that game, if I'm being honest with you, because they were playing absolutely horrific football. That was not a Sean McVay normal offense that we're normally seeing, and especially in primetime situations where Stafford needed to go down the field. And what did he do? Bro, fumbled the ball.
Yeah.
In a very crucial spot. So in a moment like this, I think Vegas looks at this as the Rams need to have a game where they need to show the NFC yo, we might have been slow going into the ending the regular season.
Right.
But it's like this is not just for the NFC, but this is for the Rams itself to prove to themselves that they are a dominant team with a bunch of big names that are supposed to go somewhere. Like this team is, in my opinion, like calibered like the Eagles were last year, beginning to end. The only difference was
I still give the
Eagles
edge to the Eagles
You know what I'm
last
saying?
year. Yeah, but go. So sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. So it's like to me, it's like for the Eagles didn't have that slow start at the end of the year. They were firing on all cylinders, even when the backups were in, because they were that locked in. And it's almost like the Rams, because they wanted to save Devontae Adams, save a lot of these people that are hurt, still could not get any momentum. Puka was having to ball out twice as hard to be able to try to keep up. It would be nice because he's not going to have that as much now because Devontae Adams is back, sure. But I think this is Vegas trying to say the Raiders have a proven game and that they're going to do it.
The Raiders?
Not the Raiders, the Rams.
The Rams. You're good. Yeah, I think the Vegas
You said
people.
Vegas, that's why I thought about the Raiders.
No, yeah, right. Yeah, I know. I placed it into your head. I'm sorry, but I think once again I'll do it again. So be careful. Vegas, the script believers, they know that the Rams are supposed to be this great team, and that there's no way that they first of all should lose to an 8-9 team. They have to. Make it at least to the divisional round, right? They have to win at least one playoff game. So they just don't really want to convince themselves that this game will be close. It's at Carolina. There might be just like a little bit of rain.
Snow, whatever.
So like that could throw things off a little bit. And, it's not like I kind of, made a bit of an exaggeration before to say that Bryce Young's fourth down conversions were the only thing the Panthers offense had going for them. They had a strong run game, a good offensive line, probably a top 10, top 8 unit in the NFL, and they have a great running back duo. And they were able to control time of possession in that first matchup. And that was really huge in kind of making those turnovers the Rams had worse. Right, because then you're turning the ball over and you just gave it back to him for another 5 or 10 minutes. Like that was huge in that game, and it helps expose this Rams defense for another weakness they have, because the defensive line is great, but my concern heading into last year was that they would be too small. Now they improved the run defense at the start of this season. I was bringing it up with the EPA metrics and stuff like that. They don't quite look like that in the second half of the season. They have fallen from the second best in EPA at like mid-season to now they're like 8 or 10, right? So that means you had to have been performing lower than that, right, to get down to that point. So there's been problems with this Rams defense. The turnovers on offense make it, really hard for them to win with it. So what do I think is going to happen in this one? Because it seems like we're kind of gassing up, the Panthers, because they did win. They did win that first matchup. And I was kind of mocking the idea of, the Rams have to win this game. But there is going to be a lot of parity in this first round. I'm not sure this is where we're going to see it. I think, the Panthers converting the way they did on those fourth downs, despite them, winning time of possession and, being able to use the run game, they still needed those fourth downs and all of those turnovers to win that game. I'm just not going to bet on all of that to go in their favor again. So I think the Panthers keep it close enough. The Rams could run away with it and dominate, but I think that they would win by a score of, call it 33 to 24, I would say. No, that's right, because it's plus 10. Carolina 33 to 24. They're able to score some points. Maybe some of it's in garbage time or whatever, but that's kind of my prediction.
I'm expecting them to actually hit the spread, but literally, I'm talking about like hit it, like just hit it. And I'm talking like 24 to 10.
24 to 10 would be 14. It's a 10 and a half.
24 to 14. I'm sorry, 24 to 14.
24 to 14. That's what I thought you meant. It could be defensive and like run dominated by both sides.
That's what I was thinking,
something we haven't talked a lot about is the Panthers defense, and I feel like they've been really good at like kind of disrupting people's passing games and kind of forcing these interceptions, and and stuff like that. But I do think the Rams.
J.C. Horn's a monster.
Right.
I feel like he's a very underrated corner in this league.
He is, because he's been on the Panthers for so long. But
Exactly.
people are starting to realize, and for good reason. But yeah, the Panthers defense, it's got potential to get dominated in this game, and I could see it, coming through the ground game if Devontae and Puka isn't enough, right? Even J.C. Horn's just one guy, and it takes a lot to cover up this Rams offense. So yeah, unfortunate for Panthers fans. It's been a great season, but I think you'll be excited enough about the future making the playoffs.
I fully agree.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next game. Now this to me is going to be the hardest one to predict all season, or excuse me, in this round, not all season. And that is going to be the Green Bay Packers traveling to the Chicago Bears at 8 p.m. Prime time on Saturday. And this is the third matchup between these division rivals this season. And none of these games so far have disappointed. And they all have had a major impact on both of these teams in the division.
It's really hard, Scotty.
Yeah.
And we've said this before. And it had been with the Eagles and the Giants. It's really hard to beat a team a third time.
It is. Well, thankfully, neither of these teams swept each other. So
but at the same time too, it's like the Bears both times. By the skin of their teeth.
Right. And
I've been in this situation.
And just to every single time you play a team, it gets harder to beat them for both teams, really. But, if you're the team that has swept them already, it's like you kind of have to go into it with the same game plan. You know what I mean? Because it worked, which means the ball's kind of in the other team's court to throw a curveball at you and catch you off guard, and then maybe be the ones to pounce on first. And in both games, the Packers have taken the lead earlier in the game, which I think is kind of what you're getting at in this one. And it certainly is like a complete mess trying to navigate how each of the first two games happened and trying to apply it to this matchup, because early on, the Packers had Micah, but the Bears scored, 21 or 20 points in that one, and were on the very last play about to tie it up and score 27. So they were producing on offense, and it took them some time to come back. That's the game that they were able to kind of run the ball a little bit in the second half and make their comeback. But they did lose, but it looked good for the Bears. It looked like this is going to be tough for the Packers to sweep them. And then in the next game, no Jordan Love, no Micah. And the Packers are winning with Malik Willis the whole time until the Bears start coming back, and with the help of an onside kick are able to eventually win in overtime by a sick throw by Caleb to DJ Moore. But one has to wonder, without Jordan Love out there, it brings up the question repeatedly, how big of a fall off is Malik Willis, because he's not available this week. So they're going to have to start the third string, which is not going to work if Jordan Love cannot go, which I believe he will be able to. But it makes you wonder. Jordan Love is really productive. And I know, he's had injuries, and, they have these ugly games sometimes, but I think some of the ugly losses don't look quite as bad. Like, the Panthers are in the playoffs, and like the Browns, like we just know they do this. Like the Packers were a great team early on. Who they are now is kind of hard to read.
It's kind of hard to read on this one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really hard to read. But they've been the 7th seed like every single time. And you know what? They're the only 7th seed in NFL history currently to have won a playoff game when they beat the Cowboys. It hasn't happened since. So they could do it again here against the Chicago Bears team. And outside of, Jordan Love and the dynamic we explained, to me, I'm wondering from you, because we talked about this prior. You seem to have a lot more confidence in the Bears than I did, that they were that they should be favored, because the Packers are favored right now -1.5. So what is it about this Bears team? What's going on, this season, and what you're kind of, foreseeing for them in this game to have so much faith?
I think a lot of these guys on the Bears team so far, especially with these two Packers games, they put everything they could out there. But there's something about this third game that I feel like it being in Chicago, it being a playoff game. The last time I saw the Bears in the playoffs, it was a double doink. And I'm thinking to myself, right? I'm thinking to myself, right? If I'm Caleb Williams, I'm Ben Johnson. I'm thinking to myself, bro, I gotta come out here and absolutely throw every play, front cover to back cover, top of the page, bottom of the page. I don't give a shit who watches it on film. We gotta freaking do something, and they're gonna do it. Yeah, they gotta do it, especially if against a mangled up Packers team with Jordan Love, zero touchdown Golden, Reed, Watson is like trying to figure himself out to come back. Like this defense is hurting all over. Like Keyshawn Nixon was getting absolutely like disrespected. Like it was just,
Yes.
it's just it's a whole slew of shit. It's a whole slew of
It
shit.
is.
And I personally feel as if that this Bears team is so amped up, so poised and ready for this is their moment. Like I don't know what it is. Like if you're a script writer, like and you get this wrong, this is basically as fucked up as when Stranger Things didn't make the 9th episode. So this is what I'm getting at. Is that the Bears? This is literally the hype that I felt when the Lions were in the NFC Championship.
It all
And they
comes.
have a chance.
It all comes to here.
This moment.
Yeah. I kind of have a lot to say about what you're going on about. Cuz I saw a clip of Ben Johnson. I'm sure I think you might have too. Not only in the past few days, but it made me think back to when he got hired by the Bears and what did he say? It feels great to beat the Packers. I would love to do that. You know, they got him the second time around, but here they are in the playoffs. And what did he say during one of his press conferences this week? He was talking about how this was his words, we are going all out for this one. Basically, he's not pulling any punches. He's saving nothing. And that makes me think if Ben Johnson has been able to save stuff and go 11-6. I understand the schedule and all that, but still the success they've had, the progression with Caleb. What does that mean for this game? Because that's typically the sort of thing I'd say about the Packers. They turn it up in the playoffs. Or the 49ers. Come on, we all know they're different, right, in the playoffs. So they turn it up.
What is Ben Johnson's
throttle? What is Ben Johnson's full throttle? I am so curious. Now, what do I kind of think is the key factor here? And that is that although the Packers defense has struggled in the two games versus the Bears, outside of kind of like the comeback in the first game by the Bears, they've done a pretty good job stopping the run against the Bears for the most part. Like, it obviously hasn't killed them. The Bears were playing from behind in both of those games. Now, if Ben Johnson's full throttle can break that, I kind of don't have confidence that the Packers can keep up. Because the Bears defense, inversely, because the Packers like to run the ball and they can still do that, the Bears defense is turnover dependent, you know? Like they got like Montez Sweat, and the Packers offensive line is now healthy, even though their defense is kind of banged up. The O-line's healthy. And if Love has like time, that makes me think this might look a little bit more like the first game. You know what I mean? So, because the second game was so hard to understand how the hell that was what ended up happening. Like how the Bears only had like a field goal like in the fourth quarter. To me, I'm like, Ben Johnson, what the hell's going on? I get you're not going full throttle, but maybe step on the gas a little bit, right? Like what's the situation here? Hey, he turned out to be right because they were able to pull it out in the end. But you kind of get what I mean. But this all is why, to me, it's the toughest game to pick this week. To me, it's got to be. You know, both of the first two games were so crazy. I don't have a strong preference either way. I do like this Bears team. Dan knows I was on this Packers team and I wanted success for them. It's not really their year with the injuries, so I'm more detached. And I'm like kind of okay, you know, no bias either way. I still think the Packers are actually going to win, because something that I haven't said yet, I have said it sort of, but I haven't emphasized, is Matt LaFleur does have that full throttle. I think he's been stowing away, maybe even a little extra. They were pretty hot. They knew they were going to make the playoffs for like the past 5 weeks, and it seems like they've been regressing. I think the same way I kind of look at the Bears and I'm like, I don't know if you were regressing as much as you were pulling some of your punches. But in that Lions loss week 18, they played their starters, and I'm sure they pulled some punches, but it just feels kind of weird that the Vikings were able to pull it off, right? But to me, it's just about the run game. I think is going to work well enough for both sides, but ultimately, I think just the coaching from Matt LaFleur is going to be able to have that consistent offense through the air and through the ground against the Bears defense. But if they get one of those turnovers, it's probably over. My score prediction is going to be 26-24 Packers. Just a weird score to reflect what is going to be most likely a very weird game. So Dan, quickly, what do you think is going to be the outcome of this game?
I was thinking, I'm not even gonna lie to you, it's gonna go crazy. I think I'm expecting a high scoring game. I'm expecting it to be similar to the first game, where they're striving for a touchdown, and I'm looking at 30-24 Bears.
Okay.
This game-winning drive from the Packers, they're gonna try to go for it, and I'm not gonna lie, I'll call this right here. It's gonna get intercepted by Johnson.
Okay.
Run it out of bounds, and then they're gonna start celebrating. And Scotty, I'll tell you right now, if I call that ish, we're coming live on that day.
We'll go live. We'll go live if that happens. I love the painting the picture of how it's gonna happen to turning the tables on the Packers compared to that first game. So
and it sucks because the scriptwriters messed up. Jair Alexander going to the Eagles, they could have got a pick an interception on Jordan Love. That would have been kind of crazy. But the scriptwriters, that would have looked too obvious. I can't lie to you.
Yeah, who knows why he's gone? He said it was for mental health, I believe, but that was pretty bizarre, wasn't it?
It was.
All right, time to move on to what is going to be another coin toss kind of game. Are you ready for an AFC matchup, Dan?
Mm-hmm.
We got Bills taking on the Jaguars, first game on Sunday at 1 p.m. And in this one, the Jaguars are home. They are the 3 seed. The Bills are a wild card team for the first time in a while. And it just has got a weird vibe to it. The Bills are 1.5 point favorites. However, the Jaguars are red hot recently. The Bills have been sort of fluctuating, throughout the year, having these hideous losses. And now
the Jets.
we have the one season where Mahomes and Burrow, the two guys who have only ever beaten him in the playoffs, are not going to be in the playoffs. And as a bonus, Lamar and the Ravens, usually a thorn in his side, are not going to be in there. Here's the thing. This doesn't mean that the other teams aren't good. You know what I mean? I've had many questions, and I still do, about the AFC, but they have played well against NFC teams too. And I don't think I said earlier on in the season, Josh Allen's the best QB remaining. That should kind of mean they're the best team in the AFC, but I never put them even as a top 3 team, I think, in the AFC. Throughout the rest of the season after I dropped them. And a big reason for that kind of got reassured to me today when I saw some stats. The Bills have not won an away playoff game in about 33 years. Can you believe that? Can you believe that?
That's crazy.
I could not believe that. And Josh Allen, obviously that means he's 0-4 when he's on the road, whenever he goes to Arrowhead, Cincinnati, and because it was the divisional round, right? You remember it was, excuse me, I'm pretty sure they were home that game, but I saw the performance of the Bills in the playoffs when they're away, and it kind of added on to the idea that maybe there's more to it than just the Chiefs were always dominating the Bills. You know, maybe this Bills team thrives so much off of being home.
Of a home, the crowd, everything like that.
Because they really do.
Mm-hmm.
And
which is going to be to my second point, which is like, for example, Mahomes and Burrow going to the Bills Stadium, going to Highmark. Joe Burrow was able to come out with that one. Mahomes being able to go to Highmark, being able to come out with that one. I guess to me, it kind of shows those kind of two aspects of just like, this is his chance. His one.
It is. It really is.
And only chance.
Right. And that's what it seems like. And so you know what that I felt like was doing to me when I was trying to pick this game? It was making me feel very strongly the Bills can't lose in the first round. They can't.
Like
in the first round.
So many people are going to get fired if they lose.
So many people are going to get fired if they lose this game. Because it's going to be very obvious the excuse is not there.
That there's problems elsewhere.
There are problems. Now, the Jaguars are a 13-win team. Fun fact about them, they are 11-1 on the season when Brenton Strange is playing their tight end. They are 11-1 when he plays. So that little rough stretch in the middle of the season just might have been the absence of Brenton Strange. I thought that was a fun little note. And guess what? He's playing in this game. Okay, so just something to remember that Brenton Strange is going to be in this one. So let's talk about just quickly the differences between these two teams. It's pretty clear. To me, the Bills have no offensive weapons. The defense is not that great, but they have a great offensive line. They have a good offensive coordinator. They have a good running back. And they have the best quarterback left in the playoffs. And that's pretty much what they're hanging their hat on. The Jags can do everything. They remind me a lot of the Rams. They really do. Because it's like, you know, their defense isn't like elite, but it's won them some games this year. It's been a little inconsistent, kind of like the Rams. And then on offense, it's like Liam Cohen, like obviously the tree, but like Trevor Lawrence, you know, big, like kind of athletic, you know, able to move around, but strong arm quarterback who can make, you know, high level throws to, you know, a nice assortment of wide receivers, and the offensive line is playing well. They have a group of running backs, and, you know, they're 13-4. They've played really well this year, and they've been looking red hot. And if they can run the ball, that is kind of like the Bills' kryptonite, and yes, they can. So right now, it does say the Bills are favored. The ESPN matchup predictor, which is according to ESPN Analytics, slightly favors the Jaguars by 0.5%. So I wonder what's going on there. Where are these odds coming from? It's DraftKings. So ESPN disagrees with DraftKings. But ultimately, the point I want to get to is circling back before I make the pick of just the fact that I don't want to make a pick thinking this can't happen. I don't ever want to think that something can't happen, right? I don't want to think that an upset can't happen. I don't want to think that nobody can beat a certain quarterback. I don't want to think that nobody can beat, you know, Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes ever, right? I don't want to make choices like that. And like I said, I feel like people are looking at this and just picking the Bills because they're thinking they can't lose and they don't want to see
this game.
They can't stomach the idea of the Bills losing this game.
First round exit.
Right. First round exit in his best chance. But Trevor Lawrence has been playing really, really well the past couple weeks. And to be honest, I can't see, I think they have better coaching right now, even in year one. The Bills got playoff experience, sure, but what have they done with that playoff experience? You know, they've never made a Super Bowl, you know, and there's been a lot of teams like that. And if anything, you got to say, well, they have Josh Allen. They developed him, but they haven't maximized him the way the Chiefs were able to with Mahomes. So I would say the Jaguars have done a hell of a lot more in 1 year, because it didn't take 3 years. I understand he's been in the league for a couple of years now, but you understand year one, immediate, boom, it works.
Exactly.
I like the Jags this year. I'm going to take them to win this game. And
I did too.
I think the offense is going to be abundant. I'm thinking it's going to be like 35-31. Bills try to come back, but just can't get it done. Get the clock run out. What do you think?
I was gonna say that they were gonna be. I was seeing the Jags up 2 scores. Everyone's stressing what the hell's going on. What the hell's going on? Similar to beforehand. Then the Jags come out, get another score. It's 21-0. Josh Allen gets his feet. He starts getting it back together. He starts going on, but there's not enough time on the clock. That's kind of how I'm seeing it. That's how I'm looking at it. I'm seeing 28-21 Jags.
Okay. Yeah, maybe if if they're leading the whole time. I don't know if it's going to be. I think if it's back and forth, the Jags are in kind of a bad spot because of red hot Josh Allen. If it is neck and neck at halftime, that's most likely a game he's going to win. But I still love the Jags, and let's have some faith in T-Law too. So, so that is the Bills and Jaguars game. If they're so 1 second, I had to pause the audio. Now we get to move on to the last 3 games. And up next is the 4:30 game on Sunday. Dan knows which one this is. The 49ers traveling to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Once again, these two teams, they have a bitter history. Mostly just from the 49ers. And what happened to them and how the Eagles just rolled over them. The 49ers got back in the regular season, but what the hell does that matter? The 49ers lost the Super Bowl that year. In this game, the Eagles are 4.5-point favorites, Dan. And there's a 44.5-point over-under. That's all I'm going to say because I kind of want you to take the lead on this one, considering it is your birds, so... Go for it.
Sure. This is how I see it, guys. What's the strength of the Niners? In my opinion, their offense over their defense. I think their defense is dangerous. It's scary, 100%. And that's only because of Robert Saleh. If he was not there, I don't see them being the way they are, the way they dismantled, the way they are. I'm not 100% sure if Warner is going to be in this game. But what I do know is...
I saw him climbing
I saw him climbing the thing.
I don't think he's going to play, though.
No, I don't either.
Probably not.
But
I did see that, though.
One thing I do see is the strength of the Niners is their offense, along with the Eagles' defense. So, for me, I think this is more of a game. We're good with stopping the run often, depending on how the edge rushers attack Purdy and get pressure on him when he's able to scramble. Yo, listen, I'll say this and I'll give him his flowers. This dude has upgraded in his scrambling ability. And if someone's like, oh, I haven't paid attention. No. I've watched Purdy because everybody wants to talk about how him and Hurts are like the same kind of quarterback and yada, yada, yada and shit like that. It's like, no. I give Purdy that he is a great scrambler. He's able to extend plays like a mother heifer, no issue, no problem. What I haven't seen from him yet is the absolute ability that in clutch situations you need to get the job done. Is party time. Like he's not like he's some there be a lot of times that this dude fails. Like, and I'm not ready to go and be like, oh, like Purdy's better than Hurts, but at the end of the day, like the Niners, I feel like this is going to be an extremely close game the entire time. I think it's going to be a defensive heavy game, not because the Niners defense is having a hard time with this. It's because our offensive play calling is having a hard time adjusting to a solid defense. Fangio did say himself that that him and Shanahan friends, they've been cool with each other for so long. He loves his play styles, he loves his play calling, he's a great coach, he respects the shit out of him, and it's because of the fact that the way they call the game and the way both of them really do things, it's like two masterminds going back and forth with each other.
Yeah.
So for me, I think this is not just a talent aspect. This is more of a coaching experience and who's going to catch each other lacking. And I'm not going to lie to you. Like, while we have the matchup of Shanahan and Fangio, like, that's freaking sick as shit to really think about. I shit bricks thinking about Patullo versus Saleh and their experience in terms of play calling and what they could do in a playoff situation. The Birds being, if this was in San Fran, I say we lost this game immediately. Like, I see this being a hard game, especially after the game that the Niners just had against the Seahawks, getting absolutely
drained.
destroyed. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And it's definitely like mentally taxing to get that done to you. And it's gonna be the Eagles don't start off hot, which we often do. We slam the gas and then we overheat the engine and we have a hard time getting on in the second half. So like, if we can get hot in the beginning like we normally do, I feel like with the damage the Seahawks have done last week, it starts to really mentally mess you up a little bit, saying like, damn, we're really not that same team. But um, with that being said, I see the Eagles coming out with this literally by the freaking skin of their teeth, probably. But it's in the Eagle. It's in Philly, and that's the reason why I feel confident. Um, this is the game. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is one of the matchups that I feel as if there's more to it than just football. There's other things to it
I totally agree.
that make it more dangerous for Philly than I think people understand. So I'm still gonna go with the Birds, but I'm going with the Birds 30-27.
Yes. 30-27. Wow. Okay. Because I will start off by saying I agree with you. I think the Eagles are going to win. But I kind of feel differently about like the game, the potential game script, right? And like how this game will shake out, because I don't really think Patullo is going to have success versus Saleh despite the offensive talent, because it's been there all year, you know? And you guys have gone up against exposable defenses, and it's just kind of like 15 to 20 points every week, especially more recently. Like since the bye, things have never been like the same for this Eagles offense. But defensively, I love that we get Fangio versus Shanahan with the Eagles defense and their roster. I think Trent Williams will play. He's questionable. Even him at like 90% completely changes like this.
It changed the game.
It changes. Yeah, it completely changes the game. And I'm sure they'll get him, hopped up on whatever they need to numb the pain, to make sure that he'll be able to play. And, credit to him for being that type of guy. But ultimately, I think the Eagles defense is going to be able to make a play or two that just kind of puts the game in their favor, like force a turnover, like strip sack Purdy. McCaffrey, he's had some fumbles. He's had some drops, some fumbles, and then you got just the fact that there is a talent deficiency on the 49ers compared to the Eagles, and just eventually over the course of the game, I do think the Eagles defense is just going to have one of those types of plays that just puts it in their favor, or special teams. This Eagles special teams has been an impactful unit, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were something that won them a playoff game and people exited games saying Jalen Hurts is a special teams merchant or whatever they're going to say, right? Because I think we're going to see something like that again. I go back to last year's wildcard and divisional round, and I think of how those first two games went. Jalen's not coming off a concussion or like a thumb injury, whatever the other thing was, but it's the offense
knee injury that he had,
right? But the offense is questionable. That's what it was. I think it was knee and concussion, but the offense looks like worse than that, So I kind of feel like that's what we're gonna get. It's gonna look like one of those games we saw versus the Packers or against the Lions, and it's gonna be like Eagles 18-14 or 16, something very close, like you said. But I just think the Eagles are going to get away with it, and I do mean that, get away with it, because the frustrating ways that the Eagles happen to win games.
The Niners, the only other team that I look to that I'm like, oh man, that's gonna be a rough matchup is the Seahawks. If I'm being completely transparent, we've versed the Rams how many times?
Right, you guys can beat them.
We can beat them. You know what I mean? The Bears, how many people were hurt on the Eagles at that time? But also, too, on top of that, like, it was Black Friday. The Eagles are already having a rough time. We just had that shitty loss against the Chargers. Nothing was going right. It's the Seahawks that is the one team right now that I'm just like, they literally like toe-to-toe with us. Like,
well, I'll have something to say about that, but we can save, since the Seahawks are the 1 seed, they're not playing in the wild card round.
Exactly.
And we could talk about them with a bit more emphasis at the end. But I do agree that I think, to me, we already talked about the Rams. The Eagles, Rams, and Seahawks are, to me, definitely the three best teams in the NFC. I think that's the only thing we know about the playoffs this year. But the Eagles might be the most talented team in the NFL right now. I think the Seahawks are probably just better coached. And that's like the difference or whatever. And that means the Eagles can beat anyone. They really can. So I think this 49ers team, they might be way better coached, even potentially on both sides of the ball. Respectfully to Fangio, like what Salah's done with the backups is unbelievable. But it just might not matter. You still need the players to execute out there. I don't think they're going to be able to. I think San Fran covers, but I think the Eagles are going to win this one. All right. Now, we got 2 games left. And so far, the 49ers Eagles has been a coin flip. Bills Jags, Packers Bears. And yeah, so all but one of the games so far have been complete coin flips. Are you ready for another one? Are you ready for another coin flip, Dan? Because I think this game is also a coin flip. And that's going to be the Chargers at the Patriots. Now, we have a 2-seeded Patriots team at 14-3 taking on an 11-6 Chargers team that a lot of people, like me, wrote off when their left tackle and Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt, both had season-ending injuries. Slater at the before the season even started. I wrote them off. I didn't want to get attached to a team because I knew their potential, but it was like it's just not going to be that year. It's like the Packers with Micah. It's just not your year if you lose like a top 5 player on your team. Or 2 top 10 ones, right? But this Chargers team, the reason we would say that is because we saw what happened last year in the playoffs with their offensive line. Herbert getting swarmed. It looked terrible, right? So that was kind of the concern that, even if they make the playoffs, nobody's going to be able to, or they won't be able to score on anyone. Everyone's going to have a pass rush and a good defense. Well, this Patriots team, they do have a pretty decent defense on paper. It's nothing crazy, but it's upper third. It's in like the lower ranks of the upper third of the NFL, so probably like close to top 10, right? But it's got a thing with talent that I will say they don't have those elite like pass rushers that they can like kind of get after like and expose this Chargers weakness. Like the Giants beat the Chargers. Milton Williams is an interior guy. That's one guy you can double team. You have Harold Landry as kind of like your number one guy who they've gotten like production out of, but like if I'm sure the Chargers linemen are well coached too. They're just not very good. You know what I mean? Because they're backups. And with like Harold Landry, it's like, well, like, you're obviously not this elite edge rusher or anything. And, I just think that's like a bottom like unit of pass rush in the league, and it's kind of an odd advantage for the Chargers that you wouldn't really think that it might like mitigate the fact that their offensive line is so bad, right? That basically the Patriots their pass rush might not be able to expose that, but on the other side, the Chargers have this really, really well-coached defense by Jesse Minter, who could be a head coaching candidate. And he's going to be going up against this Patriots offense that has just been led by Drake May in the MVP conversation in year 2. Everyone loves him, justifiably so. He's a great guy and very, very easy to, kind of admire what he's accomplished and all the talent he's got. And, him kind of taking this historic franchise and giving it a jolt of life that they were maybe not expecting so soon. So that sounded a lot more exciting than the Chargers, right? Well, yeah, the Patriots are the 2 seed. They're 14-3, and the Chargers are 11-6, like I said. So where exactly am I going with this? Well, it's time. It's finally time for the strength of schedule theory to start getting tested. I've been saying for a while I think this Chargers team's fraudulent. They're doomed to collapse. I don't know when, if it'll be wild card or divisional, but it's gonna happen. It could happen here, but I could also see them winning this game. Why do I have faith for them to beat the Patriots? Because the Patriots might not be able to expose their greatest weakness. Justin Herbert, that means he'll be able to play on his game. He has far more experience than Drake May in any of this stuff, playoffs or regular season. He's obviously a better quarterback right now. I think if he was on the Patriots, we would see the same thing minimum. And they're going to be able to score some points, I think, on offense. I don't think a lot. I think both teams will be running the ball. But I think, that means if they run the ball and play defense, this game will be really, really close. They won't, be stopping the clock and adding possessions to the game. So I think there's reason to believe the Chargers will win this game. ESPN has them favored 54 to 45 or 46. And DraftKings has the Patriots as 3.5-point favorites. It's pretty decent. Dan, the Patriots are favored by 3.5. After everything I've just said, does it change your mind at all? And who do you think is going to win this game?
I mean, for me, I still believe in Drake. Drake May. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that he's able to. First of all, like there's two.
And Mike Vrabel, I forgot Mike Vrabel. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and Vrabel. There's that concept, the coaching on that aspect with the defense. I think Vrabel's experience is going to be able to have Herbert second guess, make mistakes, do all that kind of stuff in crucial moments. And in the playoffs, you can't do that. But we've seen Herbert do it in the past, and we'll see how that goes for him. Going into this game. There's also the aspect I'm looking at it from. There's the MVP race. I don't think the NFL is going to allow, right, this MVP race to be kind of dictated and decided by week 1 of the playoffs. I think they're going to want a little bit more juice to see what does Drake May look like going into the divisional round, at least, right? Just get him there. That's basically what I feel like is the goal for them.
Of course, our theory. Our theory.
That's the theory, you know what I'm saying? Theory of the NFL scriptwriters. That's my theory of it. But there's also the feeling of, I think Drake May, in going through his first year, having such a shitty experience, to going to now, having the coaching and everything, I think, and I feel that the Patriots are where the Chargers got to after the injuries. I feel like the Patriots have already been at that level since the beginning of the season. I know you said beforehand there's the strength of schedule of the Patriots. Very fraudulent. Are they going to be willing to show it? Are they going to be willing to prove it and everything like that? I trust the team that has been in the same position all year than the team that just got there and has been scraping by games. Trying to just put stuff together, really. And I also would say, too, like with this game, I feel like there's also the aspect of Drake May has something to prove. Henderson has something to prove. One of their teammates just got arrested. There's a lot of
stuff
animosity
going on. There is. I will say this: there's distractions in that team right now that were not there. A few weeks ago.
So I feel like there's a lot of animosity in the team that. I can't lie to you. Like, if they don't win this game, I'm very fearful what they look like next year. And I'm talking about like a regression
Commanders
in their production and the Patriots and how they play and how they are and everything. I'm not saying Drake May's a bad quarterback. I think he still thinks he's fantastic, but I think the distractions that were there will cause more problems than people
anticipate.
Will be, not just this game, but going forward as well. So, but I still believe in the Patriots. I still think that they'll be able to overcome the issue that has occurred. And with that being said, I believe the Patriots are going to come out of this 21-17.
21-17. I just noticed we have some people in the chat who left some messages. I'm just going to respond real quick because, it's playoff time. And someone said, hey, just so no one is watching, I might as well pop in. Hey, I appreciate that. Maybe this guy isn't even still here. That would be funny. It does say 2, and one of them is me. So it's got to be just one guy. But I see 3 different messages. Packers all the way said schedule merchants. I'm pretty sure he's talking about either the Bears, right? Or he's talking about the Patriots right now. He might not be here. Anyway, but yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge the chat messages, and yeah, I thought really, really hard about this Chargers-Patriots game. I thought for a second I was gonna pick the Chargers. I could not do it, man. I just can't, because that offensive line thing, they might not be able to expose it the whole game and force 4 interceptions out of Justin Herbert. But if it's a sack, fumble, or just 1 or 2, right? Mike Vrabel's able to have a really, really good game plan. It is Jim Harbaugh on the other side, so it's kind of
Exactly.
and he's very emotional
He's
right
good at
now.
adjusting.
Well, I'm trying to say the things beyond football. His brother just got fired. You don't think he wants to go out and win one for his brother, and that he's going to be dialed? I think he's going to be dialed. I think this game is going to be close as hell, and I think it's going to be, both teams running the ball, trying not to put themselves in compromising situations, forcing both offenses to play, full drives against both of these defenses that are really meant to be the units that end up winning this game. And all of that being said, like I said, I still think the Patriots are going to win, despite what I say about the schedule and all that sort of stuff. I do think they're in a better spot than this Chargers team, mostly due to momentum, the coaching with Vrabel, Drake May, all the hope we have with him, Travion. Hampton's been banged up, so it's like, this Chargers team, it's like, how far are you going to be able to go with all these injuries? You know what I mean? Like, it just kind of feels like last year, but if not, it might even be worse. Yeah. So that's my take. And did I give a score prediction?
I don't believe so.
I don't think so. I didn't think so. I think that the Patriots are going to win this game 21-20. Very low scoring. It's in Foxborough. That was kind of the decider for me. I think them being home is going to help them in this game a lot. Something I've completely failed to mention throughout this entire podcast: Western teams traveling to the East. They have a really hard time, and the Chargers are going to be going all the way to Boston. So, it's not it's not a good situation for them. Other teams that are doing that: 49ers are traveling to the Eagles. Bills are going to Jacksonville. That's both on the East Coast. Packers, Bears, both Midwest. But then you have the Rams. We were talking about the conditions and it being home. They got to go all the way to Carolina, all the way to the other side, man. So that is something to pay attention to. I wish I brought that up sooner. But hey, we have it. We have brought it up now. So with that in mind, let's move on to the very last game. And this one has a lot of voodoo surrounding it. All right, Dan, it's going to be a Monday night game. 8:15, January 12th, the Houston Texans, who are 12-5, they will take on the Pittsburgh Steelers, the 4 seed at 10-7, who just had a miracle win despite not having DK Metcalf due to suspension because he decided to punch a fan in the face because he called him by his full name. Steelers, Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. He did it. He did it, Dan. Perk Rodgers. He got in there one more time. This might be the last time we ever see him. I'm a big Aaron Rodgers fan, but I really wanted to be objective about this one. I'm not going to lie. I feel a bit more confident about this one than I do about the other ones. And let me kind of explain some of the reasons why. Aaron Rodgers and this Steelers offense has shown some encouraging things at certain points in times this season. But I think that DK Metcalf suspension, despite the fact that they actually played pretty well on offense against the Ravens last week, things have just been like, there's been too much messiness in the Steelers offense. It's been too inconsistent. And going up against, even with DK Metcalf back, you have Derek Stingley, Kamari Lassiter, and it's like, I just don't know. I don't see the avenue for success outside of complete and utter dominant run game from this Steelers team to really move the ball on offense. And one other potential variable is the fact that Aaron Rodgers is such a good vet that this is not a lot of new schemes, at least, that he's seen, and he's going to have answers for the Steelers in the short passing game. And it's going to have to be, well, we're still probably going to be kind of bad on offense in this game. We need to make them bad on offense. The Steelers defense
DK
against
should be back this game though, right?
DK is back, so he's going to be back for this game. And that's going to help, but like I'm saying, it's like, like DK, Derek Stingley, or Kamari Lassiter, like, do we even shadow, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
He's had an impact this year, but he has been no world beater. You know what I mean? I mean, 850 receiving yards on the season. He barely would have broke 1,000 if he played the full season. And Nico Collins is like, he's no Nico Collins. You know what I mean? Nico Collins is the best wide receiver in this game. The Steelers will probably have the best running back in this game, though, in Jalen Warren. Woody Marsh has been an exciting rookie, but Jalen Warren's a dog, okay? And so is Kenneth Gainwell. I fear that man as a Giants fan. I do not like him whatsoever.
That and Boston Scott. But
yeah, Boston Scott was worse, but Kenneth Gainwell would do the same thing. I don't want to talk about it. So, yeah, the Texans offense versus the Steelers defense. The Steelers defense is really weird. Historically known for being like really good at stopping the run, having a pass rush and a secondary that's just good enough. That's kind of what it is, like to the max. We got like these, veteran defensive backs. Ramsey. What the hell was going on in that Ravens game? But at the same time, they still do stop the run well, and they still do get a pass rush, something this Texans offense has been able to kind of improve against throughout the season. But this is going to be the Steelers' opportunity. It's going to have to be that exact game script. Their defense is able to keep pace and keep this game close until the end, and then you just have back and forth. Rodgers to Stroud drives. Who's able to score against this really tough defense? And you would probably trust Rodgers the most in that type of situation. Although Stroud, people forget in that playoff game against the Chargers, he made a really clutch throw after breaking a sack and extending the play to actually go on to take the lead before the end of half. Stroud is a good quarterback despite his little
fall off.
His little fall off, right? Which I would attribute mostly to the team. But anyway, we don't have to get into that. My bottom line is, we have these two scenarios. I think it is far more likely that the Texans offense shuts down the Steelers offense than the Steelers offense shuts down the Texans offense. In fact, we saw these teams play a couple years ago, but the Texans really they had a game plan for them from hell, and they destroyed that Steelers team. And I can't remember if they've played again since then, but the Texans are favored by 3 in this one. I think you could argue it should be more. I really am high on this Texans team. I love the Steelers. I want them to win this game, to be honest, even though I am a big fan of the Texans. But I just don't feel that there's much faith to be had in the Steelers offense as a whole. What do you think, Dan? Do you think Aaron Rodgers has a couple tricks up his sleeve against this Texans defense?
This Texans defense is going to break this man, bro. I'm not even going to lie to you. Like, I'm expecting this to absolutely be so disrespectfully bad for the Steelers, bro. Like, it's kind of bad because I'm not lying, right? Like, when it comes to the Steelers O-line, I don't know if they've had to deal with an edge rushing duo like Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, to have to deal with the secondary threats that they do with the seemingly carelessness in how they tackle at 70 miles an hour. And what's it called? How some of these players decide to do WWE neck breakers as like a tackling form.
Yeah.
And with that being the case, like, I feel like it's going to take one blitz, and I think I'm not lying to you, Scott. This is me calling it right here. There's going to be a meme made from this game that is going to be used, like the Aaron Rodgers, like, coming out to the Jets uniform with the American flag. Like, there's going to be a meme made from this game, and it's going to be low-key messed up because it's going to be drawn on Rodgers. But, like,
yeah,
I genuinely see the Texans, like the NFL does one thing right, and one thing all the time in the playoffs. Somebody gets cooked by a huge margin.
Well, take it
And then
easy.
that team that cooks, everybody's like, that team may go to the Super Bowl. And what's the team that I see being? The Texans are going to probably do it to the Steelers. And what I mean, and why do I feel that? Because, bro, like this defense, aggressive, on the ball, they follow the ball everywhere. What's it called? They're in every position, there's a big name. And there's a big name old and big name young. So it's like, regardless, they're gonna get shit done, and that's why I say I'm going with the Texans to come out and absolutely BTA the Steelers, 28-10.
I just got a great question in the chat from Stitches 075, if you remember who that is. Big Steelers fan. He asked if the Steelers are a first round drop again, do you think this would pose a risk to Mike Tomlin's career? 1,000,000%. I think
100%.
first of all, if they lost that game to the Ravens, he would have been fired because, DK Metcalf suspended. You guys ruined the end of the season. You gave it to our division rival. But then, if you just get destroyed in the first round, I mean, I think you would probably have to lose pretty bad. But I think if this is an ugly loss, Rodgers doesn't think he's going to return. I think, your team loses they fire the head coach. Your quarterback retires. Reset the whole thing. You know what I mean? That's the perfect time to do it. You gave it one last go. You are playing with house money with this never ending winning season thing. But it's like, I would rather be bad than great than, you know what I mean, than constantly like slightly above average. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's definitely more fun making the playoffs and all that kind of stuff, but this team has a problem with shooting for ceiling. I would love more than anything to see them hit it. But anyway, we're getting a little off topic. If you guys want to hear more about that, go check out the video replacing Roethlisberger, the Steelers' pride in purgatory. I'm talking a ton about that, and I almost want to make a follow-up. But Dan, it's time. Actually, no, that's it. That's the last game. Do you have any closing thoughts on this Texans-Steelers game? And how about Aaron Rodgers, just in general?
Yes, I just pray for Rodgers. That's all. I want him to come out healthy. I don't want him to get jacked up and messed up. And I'm hoping that this dude plays a great game. He balls his heart out. He makes crazy plays to be able to close off my childhood chapter, and then we call it a day. You know what I'm saying? But if they come in and Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson absolutely high-low the shit out of him, and then this dude ends up becoming inverted, I'm going to be pretty pressed, bro.
I'm going to be very upset if they hurt Perk Rogers. I will be very upset. But yeah. All right, guys. Those of you who are in the chat, this is a great time to ask questions, but we got more for you guys. That's right. We have a little bit more, and that is going to be the playoff the full playoff brackets. Now, I was going to kind of do this slow presentation thing, but I kind of realized that would take way too long, and we got all playoffs to kind of slowly break down these games as they come up. There's no reason to dive into these predictions too much, but just to give a general idea of what our Super Bowl pick is, because I think it's wrong to enter the wild card round with no Super Bowl prediction. Okay, that's just my personal opinion. If you're going to have takes, you got to have a Super Bowl prediction start of season, halfway through season, and end of regular season. So here it is. We're going to get to it. Dan, I want you to pick whether or not to go first.
I'll go first.
You'll go first? Okay.
I'll go first.
I kind of made you think that you were gonna be first, but then I gave you the option. All right, I'm going to put your bracket on the screen. You ready? All right, so remember, they're going to be able to see the whole thing, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm going to see if I can make you visible.
So, you all good?
Just 1 second. I'm actually going to hide myself and put you on the screen with your bracket so you can kind of talk with it. How's that sound? Does that sound great?
Let's get it rocking.
All right, I got you in the upper corner. You're ready to go.
So, my dudes, this is what I'm seeing, right? We already predicted the wild card. We already see it. Patriots coming out beating the Chargers. Jaguars coming out beating the Bills. Texans smacking the Steelers. Rams being able to slip out of it against the Panthers, Eagles coming out, beating the Niners, Bears coming out, beating the Packers. Cool. Then going into the divisional round, that means the Rams are going to have to play the Seahawks. Again, another NFC West competition.
Yep.
And it's going to be something saucy. And then Sam Darnold's got to prove himself, and I believe he does. He's going to be able to get into the NFC Championship. Eagles having to go play Caleb Williams at the Bears, and we're going to have to play at Chicago. Wow. Based off of the ranking. Lord have mercy. And even though that's the case, Chicago's going to get hyped. They're going to be like, oh my God, there's no way we have a chance. We're going to be able to go far. I think, again, Eagles experience, Eagles being healthy, Eagles being ready. They're going to be able to come up, show up, do what they got to do. Fangio, I don't see him getting fooled twice by Ben Johnson's offensive magic. And Eagles are able to come through with that. Now going to the AFC, Texans got to go to the Mile High City.
Okay.
Play the Broncos. Sean Payton after a week. You know what's crazy about a week bye? I feel like it catches teams lacking. And I think that the Broncos are not the team with how young they are to be able to get a bye and be able to bounce back the way they are. Hence why I believe the Texans are going to come out, absolutely catch them off guard, and be able to go to the AFC Championship. And the Jaguars going to New England, to Boston, to do what they got to do. And Jacksonville's just got to come up north. I don't think it's going to have really an effect on them. I think T-Law playing is going to be fantastic. I think that the Patriots, after they have their one win, the Jaguars' momentum beating the Bills is going to be way too adamant for compared to the Patriots beating the Chargers. And also, too, I can't say cold's going to be a factor because if they beat the Bills at this time of year, I don't see them going to Boston and being that much different. So that means Texans at Jacksonville for
You got Texans at Jacksonville for the
Texans at Jacksonville for the AFC Championship. Eagles at Seattle for the NFC Championship. Going to the AFC, which is funny because that's an AFC divisional freaking game right there.
That's right.
So like, them going to Duval, do what they gotta do. I think that's gonna be truly exciting. I think that is what's gonna give them the edge. I think T-Law is gonna light them up, do what they gotta do, and they're gonna be able to squeeze by. And the Jacksonville, listen, T-Law to the Super Bowl, baby.
Duval.
And what's his face? Then we got the Birds going to Seattle. And Scott proves a point in terms of Sam Darnold. And this is where I wonder, right? Sam Darnold against the Fangio defense getting pressured.
Right.
And I feel like Darnold pressured is a lot different than the Darnold that we know now, which is what allows me to say the Eagles beat Seattle by, a small ass margin. I'm talking about like 1.2 point margin. Go to the Super Bowl. They play Jacksonville. I believe Jacksonville probably heats up in the beginning for sure. But again, I think T-Law going against two top defenses back-to-back weeks, your luck, your time, your efforts run out at some point. And sometimes people get caught up into the Super Bowl like celebrations and what they do week to week and everything like that. And I feel like the Eagles have been there already now for 3 times, according to my standings, and I don't feel as if the Birds, any of the years, have succumbed to the Super Bowl celebrations. So that being the case, I feel as if that's what allows the Birds to be able to become 2 repeating champs.
Okay. Eagles winning the Super Bowl is not something I really disagree with as a possibility in any way. I see the talent. This is an experienced roster that's been here before, and there's plenty of reason to believe why it's possible for the Eagles and For your sake, I guess I can wish you like a tad bit of luck. I really don't care. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say I don't care. So it sounds like a bit more nonchalant and all that. Um, that's what I'll say. I'll say I don't care if the Eagles win the Super Bowl this year. I don't care. I'll deal with it, right? I'll swallow it. You see this hat? I'll swallow it. Mm-hmm. So all that being said, is that something I see happening? Well, let's see. You'll actually get to know immediately, because I'm just gonna slap it on there, the graphic, and hide you for just a minute while I go through and break down the predictions. And I've got myself hidden. And there we go. Okay, so there's actually a lot of similarities between me and Dan's bracket. I hope you can see it right now, because this is actually, I'm pretty sure, the first time he's seen my bracket. Mm-hmm. And I saw it just pop up. So in this one, I'm going to start off in chronological order with the Panthers and the Rams. Now, we talked about this one. Excuse me. Why would I talk about the wildcard games? Those were already discussed. Let's get started with the divisional predictions. So we got Eagles-Rams matching up again. All right, and this is, to me, a matchup between potentially two of the two best teams in the NFL. I would say a different team is number 2 right now, but the Eagles definitely have that potential. I would say, to me, they're in a worse spot compared to where they were last year, and I feel like the Rams are in a much better spot. And it was such a close game that if I'm the Eagles, I would much rather the Seahawks play the Rams and kind of take each other out. And if anything, have the Seahawks take out the Rams, because it would be the Seahawks' first time here, and it would be Sam Darnold under a ton of pressure. I would just rather see the Seahawks than the Rams. But getting the Rams here after getting, at least from a schematic standpoint, exhausted versus the 49ers the week before, and probably having a slow, kind of crappy game. I don't think the Eagles are going to be able to run the ball as effectively versus the Rams in this one. And although it's not going to be easy for the Rams to stop the run, they're going to be able to do enough that it's not like Saquon Barkley takes over the game and wins it for them. Jalen Hurts is going to really have to do what he did in the matchup earlier this year, and that's throw the ball deep, as he does well, to AJ and Devontae Smith, and you obviously utilize Goddard in the ways that they like to in the red zone. Mm-hmm. The Eagles got to do everything right to beat this Rams team, unless if this Eagles defense can just force another 3 turnovers. I would say probably 2 turnovers. The Eagles most likely win. If they get 3, it's a lock. If the Rams somehow win the turnover battle, because for some reason I feel like that's just definitely not going to happen, then they are a lock, even if it's by 1. So that's where I kind of see the margins. Next, Seahawks, Packers. I got hope in the Packers, but this Seahawks team is just too damn good. I mean, when you look at the EPA chart, which I'm not really showing you guys on the screen right now, but the Seahawks look like, by the EPA chart, they might be the best team in the NFL. The teams that are the farthest away from the origin, if you don't understand the chart, it plots offensive to defensive EPA. You want to be in the upper right-hand corner so that you have good both. If you're down here, you got bad defense but great offense. If you're over here, you got great defense and bad offense. You want to be great at both. The Seahawks might be the furthest away from the origin in that area. Now, you do have teams like the Bills, who are further away, but kind of in the red on defense. But anyway, the Seahawks team, they're just too good. Right? Their defense plays so fast, and Sam Darnold has not only run the offense well, but he's got an amazing connection with JSN. He's made great plays on third down. I think this might be the best coach team in the NFL right now, is the Seahawks team, and that's just going to be too much for a Packers team that, although they have pretty good coaching in the playoffs, I believe, I don't think they have enough talent to kind of keep up with the Seahawks defense on offense. And then I think the Seahawks will be able to score against this Packers defense for sure. So I'm going to take them. And so we got Rams, Seahawks in the NFC, and in this one, it's an amazing matchup. And I know I'm just going by the NFC right now. By the way, I'm aware. The Seahawks and the Rams. This will be their third matchup. And it's going to be tougher for both teams, like we kind of discussed earlier. It's tough the third time you play a team, whether you swept them or not. It's just tough to beat that team. And it makes me wonder. We talked about Ben Johnson pulling punches, waiting to go all out for the playoffs. We talked about that with the Eagles, I believe. We talked about that with the Packers. I think this Rams team, and we talked about it with the 49ers too. This Rams team has got to be doing the same thing. I mean, I know they suffered injuries as part of the reason why they kind of like regressed during the back half of the season. But what was really important to me to tell me, is this a problem or is this just them kind of playing sloppy? They still came back and almost won all those games, right? They almost won every single game they played this year. You know what I mean? Like, they probably could have won realistically, but it's the early interceptions that really kill this team the most. I think. I don't think the special team stuff is that repeatable that happened versus the Eagles, although we did see a punt return for a touchdown. That's a little different than a blocked kick or a blocked punt. I'd say it's a bit more likely and acceptable to see as a fan. But and Rashid Shaheed is that dude. But ultimately, from a talent and roster perspective, I would look at the Seahawks and I would say, they have a bit of an advantage, especially on defense. I'd say the Rams have the advantage on offense. But I don't think we can say they have a coaching advantage. Mike Mack versus Sean McVay, this is the legendary coaching matchup. And we'll see it a third time. And last time it looked like McVay figured some things out. And although the Seahawks, they could have injuries too. It's like, I think if he improved and he's kind of saving some, then it's going to come out in this game. I think the Rams are going to win this one. It could go either way very easily. I think the Rams, Seahawks, or Eagles have a great shot to win the NFC. Of course, you can make an argument for the Bears. You can make an argument for the Packers, 49ers. I think they're kind of in another tier. And then, sorry, Panthers fans, you guys are kind of in a tier of your own. We have no idea what you are. Anyway, time for the AFC. Broncos 1 seed take on the Texans. I got the same exact idea that you did about this whole AFC bracket side. I got the Broncos losing to the Texans, and I got the Jaguars beating the Patriots. So also an AFC South, AFC Championship. So why do I feel that way? For the Texans, it is just the fact that I think their defense is better. I think CJ Stroud's better than Bo Nix. I think Sean Payton's a better coach, and they've got a better offensive line. But ultimately, I think the defensive gap is somewhat significant, and they have better weapons on the Texans' offense, in my opinion. So I just trust them to kind of come out with that game. And very similar to how they did earlier in the season. And I'm pretty sure that's when Davis Mills was playing, that they were able to keep it close. They lost to Denver 18-15, excuse me. But that's with your backup quarterback in. I kind of see it being very similar to that, except with Stroud in there, getting the job done. And then the Jags over the Patriots. This is where I think I said the Chargers don't have the talent. They're missing too many guys to expose this Patriots team. This Jags team does. Trevor Lawrence has every bit of talent that Drake May does. And he's been in the league for a couple years. And he's got Liam Cohen. He doesn't have Josh McDaniels. He's got better weapons than Drake May. That's for damn sure. And an offensive line that's probably better. And a defense that is probably not as well coached, but definitely more talented. I think that's enough for this Jags team to beat this Patriots team. And we get this matchup in the conference final. Now, I do think the Jaguars have they might have a higher ceiling due to their offensive line. Excuse me. Gonna drink some water. Talking for a while. The voice gets dry. There we go. I think we got it. And although they have the advantage at offensive line, And I think, Trevor Lawrence might have like a higher ceiling than Stroud. Something about Stroud just worked right away in an also not very good situation. I think he's got a bit more intuition, a bit more football reactivity at the quarterback position, kind of like we saw in that chaotic Chargers game last year.
Similar to Bryce Young.
Similar to Bryce Young, I would say. I would agree. And I think that's going to come in very clutch in this game. The last time these two teams played, it's kind of funny. It was actually with Davis Mills, and it was a shootout. So however the hell that ends up happening, the Texans were able to beat them with Davis Mills 36-29. Whereas earlier in the season when Stroud played and the offensive line was miserable, it was like an interception fest. It was one of the ugliest games to watch you have ever seen. It really was. And the Texans lost that one, but obviously they're much closer to who they've been the past, 9 game winning streak that they've been on, pretty much. And they're much closer to that than who they were when they started off 0-3. Also, take a look at who they played: Rams, Bucks early in the season when they're healthy, Jaguars, and then they win 2 in a row, have a bye, and then they verse the Seahawks. Hell already. And then you get the 49ers and the Broncos. The Texans played one of the hardest schedules in the league, and this is another reason I buy into them so much, because that schedule really does tell the truth about, their record isn't telling the whole story. They played the third hardest schedule in the league. Them being 12-5 is really, it's much better than that. They lost their quarterback too. This roster is amazing. So I have the Texans winning and versing the Rams in the Super Bowl. Man, this is really tough. I just had the Texans beating the Jaguars, a team I described as similar to the Rams. But I do think the difference here will be the experience in the coaching and the experience in Matthew Stafford and, a more, I would say, talented, established wide receiving core, defensive coordinator and all that kind of stuff is going to give them an advantage over this Texans team that just manages to be the one that makes it out of the AFC, and the Texans lose to this Rams team. I just don't think they're as good. So that's all I got for the for my playoff bracket, and I'm going to move everything back now, Dan, so that we can see you again, because I've hidden you for the time being. Although I'm sure the audience has heard you diligently listening, as you're always so good at. As me and Dan have a great history of working together. To be honest, not revealing exactly why, but me and Dan know how to work together. Let's just say that we've gotten some things done before, and Dan's a great listener. I do know that about him. Me, not so much. Not quite as good of a listener. Dan knows that. He loves hearing me say it too. He loves hearing me say it. Because he knows it's true. But anyway, yeah. So that's both the playoff brackets. We're at an hour 22. Dan, it's going to be a long month. Long month of these. It's going to be crazy. I don't know what's going to happen. Who knows who's going to be the most correct. I really wish Joey still got time to get a playoff bracket in. If he does, I'll post it on the channel. And I want to see, right? We'll find a way to grade things out and see. So that's going to be all for this one, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up and support the video and support us, the Illegal Formation Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe. That one dude, Dan, his channel in the description. You can find it below. And make sure you subscribe to him to keep up with everything that he's got going on. And you can subscribe to me. We are working on making a channel for this, so sit tight. We're working on it. We're working very hard over here. We want to get it done for you, but we got to keep producing content. That comes number one right now. So that's all I got for you guys in this one. Dan, you want to take it away?
Guys, appreciate you guys for showing up. Appreciate you guys for showing out. Guys, it is playoff time, baby. And we about to go. We got the San Fran Super Bowl, Bad Bunny halftime show. It's nothing but lit. Good ass time. So stay tuned, stay watching, subscribe, comment, like, show your mama, show your daddy, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.